Today is January the 6th. Where does the story of Jesus start? Let's find out together as we look at the openings of 3 of the Gospels. As we start the story of Jesus, we're going to take a look at Matthew, Luke, and John. It's interesting that Mark starts with the story of John the Baptist and eases into Jesus' ministry after that. Mark and Luke, though, tell us some of the history behind the story of Jesus. We start in Matthew 1:1. This is a record of the ancestors of Jesus the Messiah, descendant of David and of Abraham. Literally, Matthew starts saying this, the book of the genealogy of Jesus. Now, do you remember what we said on Tuesday of this week? The book of Genesis is divided into the story of 5 people by the phrase, this is the book of the genealogy of. Matthew starts the very same way. And I don't think that's accidental. I think Matthew's intention is to let us know that there, the history of Israel starts. In Jesus, the history of Israel ends. That is where Israel finds its culmination, not in 1948 as they came back together, but instead at a cross on Calvary, as Jesus fulfills God's promise to Abraham to bring a blessing to the entire world. Now in Luke chapters 1 and 2, we have the story of the birth of Jesus. I hope you enjoyed it as you read through it. One of the things that you will have noticed, the story of Jesus's birth and the story of John the Baptist's birth are interchanged. It's amazing the way Luke creates this story. We start with the angel's revelation to John the Baptist's father. Then we go to the angel's revelation to Jesus's mother. Next, Mary goes to visit Elizabeth, and they are both pregnant. Then we have the birth of John the Baptist. And in 2:1-7, we have the birth of Jesus. Now, what I think Luke is trying to do is he's trying to let us know that these 2 figures knew each other as they were growing up. There's a relationship that forms there. Indeed, we see that relationship. We'll look at that next week as we look at the ministry of John the Baptist. Luke 1:80 tells us John grew up and became strong in spirit. Luke 2:52 tells us Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and all the people. Both stories are ended with the simple statement that they grew up well. Now in the book of John, we have a very different approach. John has more of a philosophical introduction. You should have read the first 18 verses, and you will have noticed how philosophical this introduction is. But there are 3 things that come out in John's introduction to the birth of Jesus. First of all, the Incarnation. Verse 14, the Word, that's kind of the code word that John uses to talk about Jesus in this section. The Word became human, literally became flesh, and he dwelt among us. Jesus came to us and lived among us, the Incarnation. We see Jesus' deity. In verse 1, in the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. Then in verse 18, finishing up this section, no one has ever seen God, but the unique one, who is himself God, is near to the Father's heart. He revealed God to us. The purpose of Jesus coming to us was to reveal God to us, to show us what God is truly like. So we see Jesus' divinity, we see the Incarnation, and in verse 12, we see his salvation. To all who believed him and accepted him, he gave the right to become children of God. As we finish today, what about you? Have you accepted becoming a child of God? Believe in Jesus, accept Jesus, and you have the right to be a child of God. Like, follow, and subscribe to this devotional on whatever platform you use to listen to it. Email your questions to us at questions@becomehope.com. Tomorrow, we'll answer the question, what was Jesus' childhood like?